Our first storyteller's secret fact is that he once bought Bill Gates ice cream in Omaha. So obviously I asked which flavor, and it was Oreo chunks, which I don't think really tells us that much about Bill Gates. But please welcome Djorje Krstich.
I think, all of us at one point or another in our lives, cradled a personal dream, in our hearts. And, in setting out to achieve this dream, you had to walk a certain path. And, as you walked this path, as it unfolded, it was really not what you expected, So I do think, it's the things that happen along the way, when they're added up, they really, contribute to a richness that is, I think, greater than the goal itself. And in essence, that's what my story is all about. So, about like 6 years ago, I was teaching English in Brazil. And at this time, I'll be honest, my life was in limbo. I needed a purpose. And I'm having coffee with a European buddy of mine. And these Europeans, they can never ask such a simple question, He leans over, he goes, Djorje, what do you want out of life? I'm like, God, did you have to say it so epically like that? I'm like, I just need I need a big idea. I need to just grab a hold of a big idea. So anyways, the day later, we go to climb this mountain. And a Brazilian buddy of mine goes, you know what? Take my knapsack. You're going to need it. Put your water in there. Trust me, it's a treacherous mountain. You shouldn't even be climbing this mountain. I'm like, bro, I got this. Trust me. You know what I mean? And so fast forward 3 hours later, mountain's kicking our asses. If it was a basketball game, it would be mountain would be up by 56 points. You know what I mean? We drank all the water, approaching near exhaustion. I'm literally on my fours, thinking, what the hell? What's going to happen, And I have the knapsack, and I tousle it off, and I see meshed in the side compartment is something, I take it out, it looks like a block of hash, literally. And it was 100% concentrated banana. And it said, muita energia, lots of energy. I'm like, perfect, this is what I need. So we inhaled the thing, and that gave us the energy to, finish up the trek to the mountain. And on top of the mountain, that's when I had my moment of enlightenment, my big idea. I'm looking at the packs, I'm like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do what the Vita Coco guys did with coconut water, what the Sam guys did with acai bear. I'm gonna introduce this to North America. But not so fast, because for two reasons. One, the same product that saved my life actually ended up almost getting me killed 1 year later in Rio. And there was only one guy, one supplier that made it the most unadulterated way, and he wasn't so gung-ho on exporting it with us. So by that time, my visa runs up. I'm back in Canada. I link up with a business partner, and we spent 9 months just pursuing this guy, writing letters, blah, 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 doing this and this. And finally, after 9 months, he goes, okay, your persistence has paid off. We can talk business. You're gonna meet me on a Sunday at 7 a.m. on a subway station called Triagem. Write that down. I'll be waiting outside for you. Perfect. We get there to Rio, and the day of, I start having this irrational panic attack. Like one of those things that just shreds up the knot of your stomach. I'm like, why am I, this is my moment. I can't, why am I thinking this way? Why am I feeling this way? And, but that all, dissipated because me and my business partner were kind of jockeying for who's going to look the sharpest. You know what I mean? No, I'm going to wear that blue tie. You can't wear the blue tie, and all that. And so we're dressed to the nines. Looks like we're going to have a business meeting on Wall Street. But it did not matter, because we get to the subway station, open the doors, and it's a full-blown Brazilian ghetto. Nelson, the supplier, he's not there. The buildings look like, honestly, they look like Swiss cheese through the bullet holes. And out, by the stoops, there are a bunch of Brazilian thugs, and they're just eyeball raping us. And we're getting very, we're in nice suits and all that. And then there's a kid on a rooftop, and he whistles and the whistle goes down to the next rooftop. And it dissipates, which cues shortly thereafter a black tinted SUV van. And it doesn't drive up, it just kind of creeps up. You know what I mean? And then as that's happening, there's a homeless crackhead think like that Dave Chappelle character, just decides to take a dump right in front of us, you know? So that's my scenario. I can't look there. Brazilian guys, I'll get an ass whooping. This black tinted SUV looks like it came out of like Satan's garage. Like it was just evil, you know what I mean? And that's just disgusting. So, I go inside the metro. I call Nelson, and his wife picks up. I'm like, "Where's Nelson?" "Oh, he's not coming." I'm like, "He's not coming. This is a dangerous place." He's like, "Oh, we know, but don't worry. My daughter and her boyfriend is gonna pick you up." Fine. They come pick us up. They're like, "Don't worry. You're gonna meet Nelson at our house. We're gonna have breakfast. It's gonna be beautiful." And so we get there. I'm like, "Where's Nelson?" She goes, "Oh, he's not here." I'm like, "Well, that's a surprise, And because he was already at the plantation, because there was going to be a 25-year anniversary party and all that. That's why he invited us. And I needed Nelson to be there because he was the only guy that I knew, and he would be that straw that stirred the social drink. You know what I mean? And it was very awkward. They all live in the same house. You have one daughter breastfeeding, the next daughter painting her toenails, and then the son, the VP of the company, comes walking down in his cowlicked hair and underwear, and I'm thinking I just saw this guy on on the website, and I see him my whole fantasy is just being ruined right now. So after that awkwardness, we're going into the car to get to the plantation, and there's that feeling again, that nervousness in the pit of my stomach. I kind of shrug it off, and I go to my business partner and I go, I wonder where this day is headed, And honestly, I should have just shut my yapper. Because the universe heard me and really decided to mess with me that day. So there we were. I was in the back with my business partner. The daughter's boyfriend was driving, and the daughter Nara was in the passenger side seat. And I'm looking out of the windows, and I'm remarking to Telmo, my business partner. I'm like, "Hey, Telmo, you see these favelas? These are the worst favelas back there. Than back there. Those are the dangerous favelas. You see this freeway? Is actually a very dangerous freeway, and just to give you an indication, a lot of it is siphoned off with a bulletproof glass because one favela shoots at the other favela. And so, he's kind of dozing off because we woke up very early. And then honestly, not 2 minutes after I said that, this is what ensues. So I'll draw it out. Here's our car, here's a motorcyclist, and in front of the motorcyclist is another car. This car just zooms up and goes, T-bones the freeway. 3 guys with AK-47s and, bandanas, drug traffickers, decide they want to hijack the freeway. And actually, one guy had a gun even bigger than the AK-47. It was like one of those military rifles that you set on a tripod. And I just remember his hip having to thrust it so he can hoist it, at horizontal level. And they point their guns at the motorcycles. What does the motorcyclist do? He stops and just spills over his handlebars. They run, they manhandle him, they take him, and they throw him in the trunk. Pure, live kidnapping. And then, they start coming to us. And at this point, our car just, comes to a roaring halt. She's shrieking, the daughter. And my business partner, he's just waking up to all this. He's like, what's going on, guys? What the hell? And I just said, quick, duck. And, we just fold underneath in the back like lawn chairs. And, I got to be honest with you. I was a little bit more embarrassed than I was scared. The reason why, because I think all the men can relate. When, we always ask ourselves, if some shit breaks down, you go, what type of man am I? You know what I mean? What breed of man am I? Well, I figured out, I have determined, I've ascertained that I'm a hider. All right? But you know what? There's nothing wrong with hiders because we survive. We live, you know what I mean? Anyway, so I just said my whole consciousness was absorbed with prayer. I remember thinking just look after my family. And I had lost all conception of time. It could have been 1 second, could have been 1 minute, 1 year. I opened my eyes, and how the eyes opened, how it opened, felt like I was waking up from a dream. But no, it's still going. I hear crack, 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 the sound of the guns firing. Our car starts going fast, and then boom, goes into 5th gear. And then I look back, and I see these guys, sticking their guns out into the cars. Cars swerved off the freeway, you know what I mean? And It was just total calamity. So I get up, I'm like, what the hell happened, you know? And there's the boyfriend, the strong, silent type. I'm thinking, now this guy, like, he's the man. He's like the man of the hour. He saved the day. Pure lesson on how to be a man 101. Here he is. He's cool as a cucumber, consoling his, his sobbing girlfriend and driving stick shift at the same time. I'm like, forget these bananas, man. I want to be this guy when I grow up, man. Seriously, like, man, I'm like, now I know what a man crush is all about. You know what I mean? Anyways, I'm like, what happened? He goes, I listen to my intuition and I just drive. I'm like, that's the coolest thing. Telmo, like, did you hear that? Telmo, how'd you go to sleep again? He wasn't asleep. He passed out due to the stress of it all. I woke up and he's like, you're catatonic. I'm like, don't worry. Me and Leonardo, we took care of business. You know what I mean? Anyways, so we finally arrived to the plantation. Sorry. And I finally get to meet Nelson, and he's laughing at us. He goes, hey, I heard you had a fun time getting here. That's Brazil. Da, 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 you know? And I was living, man. I was like, this guy is nuts, So I'm like, I'm going to, just talk business with this guy, And he goes, no, don't worry about that. And he rebuffs me. What the hell is this? And because there was a company party, we had an itinerary, and we get escorted into a chapel on the plantation. And I would get in there, and everybody's dressed in white. They look like they're on opium, I swear. They're like, And I go to my bed, are we in an organic fruit cult? I'm like, I don't want to be in I think we made a mistake coming here, So then Nelson comes up to the podium to address the people, and I go to my business partner. I'm going to talk turkey with this guy. He's not going to know what hit him. You know what I mean? And he starts talking, but then he starts crying. Just how he's so grateful, how everybody came. He feels so blessed. And he's just, a 65-year-old man, just bawling. I go to my partner. I'm like, this is not happening. I can't talk now. Look at him, So after that, we get taken to a dilapidated bingo hall in the middle of nowhere, countryside in Brazil. It didn't make any sense. And that's when I checked out, because I kept trying to ask him, maybe we can talk business. Don't worry about, whatever. He kept rebuffing me. So I see this big Brazilian guy. I'm like, do you have any, swim trunks? Yeah. So I borrowed this guy swim trunks, and he's a bigger guy. So they hang past my kneecaps, and I just went into the pool. There was a pool for some reason. And I was just swimming in the water, deep in the water, because I felt like, existence had drowned in me again. You know what I mean? And I get up, I'm sopping wet, we're nearing the end of the day, everybody's packing up home, like, well, this was a fucking big waste. And he comes over, he goes, Djorje, come, Telmo, come. He goes, all right, you could be a part of the family. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but that sounds kind of cool, And he goes, we could talk business. I'm like, we can? He goes, but not now. I'm like, oh. Yeah, he thinks to himself, he's pondering, he goes, I got an idea. Meet me at 7 a.m. on a Sunday at the same subway station. And that's how, I'm like, Christ's sake, and that's how it all happened. And we finally, clinched the plans, and that's how one of my first businesses got started. The end.
Djorje Krstich!